Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we are up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. All right, people, some demonstrating what you can do to get on over there, including Matt Olson with the extended yo out there, well as Amber Bando. Appreciate that. Rock on, absolutely. And also Monica Cervantes dropping that like and react already. Again, demonstrating what you can do throughout the program, throughout both hours, 4 to 6 p.m. as we are on today, and just about every weekday. Holidays are a different issue, but don't come at me about that one. Anyway, a lot to talk about here today. Of course, not trying to become y'all's weather station, but we got some road issues going on out there that we feel pretty good for any of y'all going on and trying to make your way through the Borderland, just knowing that, well, what's been going on, as well as, well, what could be this problem stuff blowing around. This is one of those nail it down if you care about it, because otherwise you might not have it anymore, including recommendations of not putting out trash containers already this evening. Also, Ida Baser-Gardner joining us over on the social media. Hello and wave to you as well. But beyond those kind of notices about it, more examples of how immigration policies and changes in it are causing even different responses, with more than a dozen rescued from a drain tunnel in south central El Paso earlier. With some very interesting images coming from our news partners over there at KFLX 14. We'll delve into that. We'll also be doing that breakdown that I've been promising that we'll get into when it comes to Governor Greg Abbott's talk and his priorities for the state legislative session that he put forth in the State of the State address, of course, as we brought to you live here on air. And also Bernadette Vanderkolb joining us over there. Good afternoon and smiley face to you as well. But then we are actually going to be bringing you a new segment, a new kind of feature here, deploying it today, because there's a lot of conversations we have. We delve into a lot of deep issues that can require a significant amount of background knowledge. Like, if you're on top of current events, good on you. It's a good way to be. But if you're wondering, like, wait, what is going on with these things, has led to some conversations I've even had, led to a new segment of we're going to be deploying today, occurring infrequently, called What's the Deal with Blank? And we will definitely be talking about that. And there are other issues swirling around a little bit more into like Friday territory. Joey Carlson bringing up the idea of the START treaty, the strategic limitations of nuclear arms treaty involved there. And let's just say there are concerns that come with that as a new bilateral world emerges. But like I said, Friday is coming, but we got a lot of stuff locally to talk about today, including some of the considerations about, well, what the heck is our city government, and what is this whole discussion that's been going on between a strong mayor and a city council, city manager form of government. And a lot more conversation. Good John Browse chiming in. Hang on to your roof. Absolutely. If at any point I actually get sucked up into the roof, there's been this really concerning creak coming from my top right over this way. So if I get twisted out of here, y'all know why. And also Richard Lewis saying that, I did not put out my trash bin. My street in Northeast is littered with blown away bins. I believe it. I saw a few migrating on my way into work today. I think that's one of the better. I forget which news station I saw it from. It wasn't a local one, but it was how bad is the wind on the scale of your trash can? And like level 1 was my trash can has moved slightly. Level 2, my trash can is at my neighbor's. Level 3, my trash can is down the street. Level 4, my trash can is on the other block. And level 5, my trash can is gone. I have lost my trash can. I feel like we're somewhere, if you take that kind of a scale, in between like 2, 3, maybe 4, depending on where you're living here these days. I mean, we got these strong winds, gusts of up to 50 plus miles per hour. So hang on to your everything. If it's not nailed down, maybe don't expect to have it for that much longer, frankly. But there's a couple of things I want to mention for traffic-wise when it comes to that. There have been a couple, or at least one, power outage coming by down lines or impacted lines. Anthony, Texas, saw a trampoline actually get stuck on a power pole. Those notorious flying saucers whenever the wind goes up. Had one of those growing up. I have no idea how we had it until we ended up like selling it, I think, because I outgrew it, among other things. It wasn't really the thing we did anymore after like middle school. And we somehow had it that whole dang time, much despite all the wins we would end up getting. And particularly Anthony looking like getting pretty hit hard. There was a tree down on 9th and Franklin there. And also there was a traffic light that was down, or at least a part of one down a little bit. Mesa and Sunland Park, actually. It wasn't totally clear, according to our news partners, if that one was by the wind, but just a couple of things to keep in mind that I always keep in mind whenever we're seeing winds like this. If you can't see in front of you, don't be driving, like pull over. I mean, we've got a couple of conditions in our area that could lead to that, but just like don't be a fool. And I would just say stay smooth the heck away from semis, because those kind of high wind shear and tall cube kind of situations just never seem to end up working out that right. So just be careful. I would recommend, given the amount of creaking I'm still hearing from this building, maybe not going out if at all possible. If you got to get home, just do so safely and carefully, and don't be too surprised if there aren't more things. Brabanda saying, among other things, I saw a video of a trash can stuck in a power pole. So we're not done with this yet. The worst was supposed to be around midday, but again, different parts of town, different situations, different sides of the mountain. Your mileage may definitely vary, as we also have Angel Rueda hello and wave to you as well. So not trying to become your weather station again, just be prudent and careful out there. But other larger, more far-reaching and overarching subjects that we keep discussing here, including the immigration situation. We mentioned yesterday that there has been more being focused on whenever it comes to Title 42, Title 8, and the expansion of, I kind of encapsulate all of it into the CBP One app idea, because that idea of essentially third-party processing, third country processing, without like actually declaring it. That is kind of the purpose of the app, of reserving your space in line to then become being done in the U.S. That's why it's not really third country processing of immigration claims or asylum claims, but I think it's probably as close as you can get without having to actually sign international agreements. Flockley menacing on the wind actually hasn't been too bad on the east side. Glad to know it's working out somewhere for us, because yeah, I'm wondering how my trash is going to go out tonight personally. Might have to put a few extra bricks in the bottom of it. Wasn't planning on getting rid of them, but hey, needs must and all. Anyway, with the immigration situation, we've got Title 42 in what like double limbo. It's just, it keeps limboing under these bars of whether it'll end or not, particularly since there are no longer the arguments scheduled before the Supreme Court. And there's at least one circumstance in which it was used, again, according to our news partners over there at KFOX 14, that to be 17 rescued from after being found and stuck inside a storm drain tunnel in south central El Paso. Looking at the map in the area we're talking about, it looks like it's not too far from actually more close to the kind of 54 and border highway intersection. So actually one of those areas that we've been talking about seeing potential further expansions going on there of processing facilities, but in one of the neighborhoods, 17, and they've got some very interesting pictures up over there with our news partners at KFOX 14 of them having to use kind of those firefighter skill saws. I don't know the total right way to describe them, but the giant bladed, like semi Mad Max looking things to me, I'm not going to lie, of trying to help get them out. And according to Border Patrol, they were entering the U.S. illegally and tried to evade Border Patrol detection by using the tunnel. And once they were removed, no one was injured. They were expelled back to Mexico under Title 42. So at least one example of it locally still being a part of the, again, local enforcement. But I don't know. I still have concerns as we see these shifting and maybe not shifting when it comes to like Title 42 immigration policies and frankly just priorities of what we may be seeing. We've been seeing just in aggregate, it feels like, I don't have exact numbers to point to, increases in the attempts of different levels of smuggling, whether it be the stash houses, whether it be the rabbiting situation, like individual vehicles. I am willing to bet, I don't want to bet on this, but willing to bet conceptually anyway, that there's probably like more mass actual efforts like unfortunately happened and ended up being the deadly consequence of what happened closer to San Antonio when there were those abandoned in the back of a trailer. That was an extreme example, but I have a sneaking suspicion that even on that order, because sure, the individual situations, the single passenger vehicles that end up running and feels like once challenged more often than not end up crashing. that has a lot of logistics to it, a lot of drivers, and if anything, there's always a level of efficiency and therefore money being made that's the concern when it comes to the cartels and the coyotes. So I am positive that they are interested in getting back to this mass amount of smuggling, and I guess I see this as a symptom of the larger whole there overall. John Browson saying, well, manhole covers shut. It was not through a manhole cover, actually. They were actually having to, the reason that they were trapped, among other things, the 17 we're talking about there, is that they were not able to get out, and they had to end up cutting out, like grating. So it was like a drain coming off the street is kind of the best way I can think to describe it. Not exactly like your curb cut kind of things, but had the parallel slats on it. They ended up having cut through there. So yeah, those kind of situations, while this could be seen as a one-off, I do see here as being potentially increasing, as again, we have a lot of questions on what comes next. And this is not just what's being decided here. This is being paid attention to across the border and across the hemisphere and probably beyond as well, on what is actually being put into place and kind of what the marketing end up coming up with it is, what the efforts they have to put into place. And ultimately, I think it might be in the short term a boon to cartels to say, oh no, we totally have to charge more because of all these things they're doing. Their marketing is insane in a whole lot of ways. One other thing I want to mention here, by the way, as was brought up on air yesterday, that there was that just real piece of work that was another one of these just real smart children documenting their crimes on social media, showing them firing a gun out of a car. And having watched the video a little bit more closely myself, he wasn't just firing it out into the air. It was towards houses. Just, there's so many words I want to use here. Was caught 17-year-old Eduardo Robles facing deadly conduct and resisting arrest charges after, surprise, surprise, people saw it on social media, said, hey, police, local law enforcement, you should look at this. And so they did, and they were able to find him, apprehend him on the street, actually, and he attempted to flee and resist arrest. So he's facing charge of resist arrest on top of the deadly conduct charge of discharging a firearm in a residential area. That bond has been actually reduced there, but it's down from $175,000 to $85,000. So still got to put up a chunk of change there. But let's just say the face that he makes, particularly in the police release and the mugshot photo, between his kind of, what's up view look to him when he was in the video, and then the way he looks now, they're facing charges and jail time. Man, life comes at you fast sometimes, doesn't it? Particularly when you're just acting just a complete idiot. Anyway, just want to mention that one. So let's go ahead and take that first break of this hour. Overdue for that first break of this hour. A lot to talk about today. And so coming up this next segment, deploying that new segment we got for you. What's the deal with blank? With a conversation with some hopefully to become familiar faces around here about some of the things that affect us here in the Borderland that may deserve a little bit more discussion, particularly if you're still trying to figure out how to navigate them like we are in most days. Anyway, back with that and back with more on Talk El Paso after this break. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Phone calls a little bit later. Comments going throughout, as we always do. And as always, stay tuned. Back after this break.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
El Paso freeways are crash-free right now. We have an injury accident, Edgemere, east of Lee Trevino. Stop-and-go traffic on Montana Avenue eastbound from Hawkins to Yarborough with 5-minute delays. Zaragoza northbound slow from North Loop to the 10 Gateway with a 9-minute backup. And high wind warnings out for El Paso till 8 p.m. tonight. 50-mile-per-hour or higher gusts in the El Paso area. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Texas Health and Human Services. Life can take a turn for anyone. And if it has for you, remember that there's so much for you to turn to. We all need supportive people and healthy outlets in our lives, so we don't have to face hard times alone. Visit turntosupportstx.org for the help that's right for you.
Hey El Paso, this is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Thank you El Paso and surrounding areas for helping us be #1 again in new Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram sales in January. As a gesture of gratitude, we're offering huge savings in all new and certified pre-owned vehicles. Interest rates as low low as 0% for 72 months, and as always, exceptional trade-in offers.
Trade and upgrade for less during the President's Day sales event going on now at Southern Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. For a limited time, get 0% interest for 72 months on new 2022 Quad Cab Ram trucks. Super low 1.9% APR on new 2022 Crew Cab Ram trucks. Get $2,000 off MSRP and 1.9% APR on 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredos. Worried about your trade or credit? Don't sweat it. Our lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. At Southern Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. We're buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Southern Park Drive or online at southernparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 0 APR is $13.89 and 1.9% APR is $14.48 per thousand financed. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Why do you buckle up when you get in your truck? Maybe you do it to get home safely to your loved ones, or because you take your job as a professional driver seriously, or because you want to follow the law to stay safe. Remember, it doesn't matter how long you've been driving, or even if it's a quick trip. Wear your seatbelt to stay safe on the road. Learn more at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov. That's www.sharetheroadsafely.gov. And remember to buckle up when you get behind the wheel. Paid for by FMCSA.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is a firm that practices family law exclusively. We focus on only one area of the law to maximize our strength and effectiveness as advocates for clients that have everything on the line: their homes, retirement, savings, and most importantly, their children. We're the partner our clients count on. If we can be of help to you, give us a call.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dallas-Fort Worth area attorneys. Offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and St. Louis. CordellCordell.com.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be joining us, being on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media platforms. We are up on these days: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk, whichever works out best for you. That's the right place for you to be as we continue our mission to have live local talk radio here in the Borderland and talk about the things that affect us right here at home. So those conversations are very important to us here, and we'll certainly get to the phone calls and more in the comments as we do as throughout the show, and then phone calls a little bit later as we usually do, but particularly talking about things that there might be like blind spots or stuff that's maybe easy to overlook, but always interesting getting more people involved and knowing about the discussion. So there's a lot of concepts that bring us to the modern day, a lot of things going on right now that are informed by everything that has happened previously. So some of those conversations we want to bring to you in a different way. So joining us for the first time here right now, we are joined by Angelica Munoz, producer here with News Radio 690 KTSM. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone out there in Radio Land.
Absolutely, because we have had a number of conversations here, and you are by no means an unintelligent person, but maybe not something that you have totally paid attention to outside of, you know, your daily life, what has affected you, what you've done in your, business, employment, etc. So in this realm, what we talk about here, as you've been stepping into it, there have been a lot of conversations that we have had about, okay, wait, what is this? How does that work? Why is this a thing? And so that's why we're kind of starting a new segment here that we'll bring into you semi-regularly of what's the deal with blank.
Right. So, I mean, coming into this job, I wasn't expecting, to have anything to do with the political realm, but I very much enjoy it and I'm learning a lot, but just that I am still learning. And anytime I've asked you a question in regards to what does this mean? What does that mean? Something on your show or maybe something that a caller has talked about, you explain it very well. And I think a lot more people can benefit from maybe the questions that I ask. It kind of reminds me when you're in school and it's like no one wants to ask the question. They don't want to seem, like they don't know anything, but I'm here to kind of ask those questions for them.
Exactly. So the idea of, okay, it may it's too far along at this point, we're afraid to ask kind of territory.
Yeah,
here.
pretty much.
That's what we're trying to deal with and put forth here. So again, the recurring segment of what's the deal with blank. And so as has been coming up, and this isn't necessarily going to be like ripped from the headlines kind of things we'll be talking about, but this one has been coming up recently of what's the deal with the form of city government. Discussion has come up recently about the city manager form of government, but we've had some recent both statements and election items come up about the potential for, well, or maybe even shades of the strong mayor form of city government. So that's something we started kind of having discussion on that has led to this segment, among other things, of, okay, so what's the deal between city manager versus strong mayor form of government? So when you kind of first heard about it, what were your initial thoughts?
I had never heard of the term strong mayor. I'm like, does he deadlift more than I do? Like, what does that mean? And you said city manager. I know that that's Tommy Gonzalez. Well, I now know. And so my question was, what is a strong mayor? And you helped clarify that too. So hopefully you can clarify that for some of the people out there.
So yeah, this was a little bit before my time, to be honest. I remember discussions going on as I was growing up, but that actual vote that then ended up happening, I think I was still technically in middle school, to absolutely date myself, when that came about here, because previous to 2004, the city of El Paso was in a strong mayor form of government, where it's essentially, I mean, sure, city council did vote, set policy, voted on ordinances, etc., but it was then the mayor that was tasked with executing them. So all city departments would fall under the mayor. All of the department heads reported directly to him, and therefore, make reports to city council. But the mayor was the boss, kind of unequivocally. I mean, there's more technicalities within that, but it was also a little bit chaotic because back at that point in time as well, all city council members and the mayor were elected every 2 years.
Okay.
So this is something I definitely remember being discussed around, to again further dated, around the idea of Carlos Ramirez, former mayor of El Paso, being as soon as you're in office, you immediately have to start running for office again. Essentially, there's no time to kind of get the ball rolling and then think about the campaign trail again, as much as there's the whole idea of there being constant elections and endless elections now. It really was a factor back at that point in time, because literally you're going to be on the next major election ballot. So the vote in 2004 had a number of items on them. Notably, there was a pay increase for city council representatives that failed. It was actually the only item that failed back in that vote, and it changed from being solely a strong mayor to creating the position of city manager. Essentially, the idea was to make it so that this wasn't as subject to essentially the bureaucracy, not using that term in a totally derogative phrase, but literally the functionary, the machinery of local government would not be so subject to the whims of politics, that you would be able to have essentially a professional class in place and doing things for a period of time, could have more career, as opposed to everything being upheaved over, say, next couple of years by new political appointments coming in, because that was often a feature of what, well, mayors would do, is maybe reshuffle the department heads to be someone more on board with their vision, their mission, etc.
So are you saying kind of like once they appointed a city manager instead of a strong mayor, they had, they didn't have to worry so much about that election coming up in 2 years, so they can focus on different things?
Well, also they changed it from 2 years to 4 years,
4 years.
Was one of the upshots. And they then staggered also the city council. This most recent election, November, we did not see the whole slate of city council replaced. It was the, roughly half, since it's not exactly an even number exactly. But about half of what was on city council was voted out. So it's staggered now. And then the mayor is every 4 years. So gives a little bit more time. So that's one of the interesting things. But yeah, all city departments answer to the city manager, and then city manager ultimately does answer to the city government, city council, the mayor, etc. But it's different. It's less like the mayor is both the speaker of the house, so to speak, and the president at the same time, to go with the national legislature kind of format. But he is the, head of the legislature, the city council, and then the mayor would be, previously, again, was everything, but then the city manager could be argued as more like the CEO of El Paso dealing with a board. So kind of more like that relationship. Sure, ultimately, city council can decide to do things like firings, reshapings, reforming departments. We've had new departments formed, maybe new ones potentially coming up with elections that we've got. Again, part of the reason this whole has come up is that in May, we have those charter amendment elections coming up, and some of the conversations about it, and at least one city council person saying that they were opposed to most of the slate of them because they're saying that this was weakening the city manager form of government and moving back towards more the strong mayor form of government. And in fact, there were other conversations going on, kind of like it was a subtext for this recent city council elections, of people wanting to maybe see, if not totally turn back to, but shades of the strong mayor form of government. So this has been coming up for a minute now, but essentially there are when it comes to the city manager, there are rules, there are regulations. They cannot just be fired. There are contracts in place, and some of them, of course, came up in the last year as well, as we had one of the notable vetoes coming out from the mayor of the contract that was for the city manager, the contract extension that ended up kind of going to place in a different way, but it would have been initially through 2029, and now it's more complicated than that after the whole kerfuffle involving the potential departure or not to another city. I mean, that's another show that we have done that show as well. So we encourage people to look at our archive. Absolutely. But that's kind of where this conversation lands now, and why it has kind of come up, this idea of, okay, so what was the strong mayor form of government?
Right. And if the city manager is voted on every 4 years, is there a limit as to how many times they can run? Or
so the city manager is unelected is the upshot of this. He is appointed by city council. So that's been one of the kind of gripes, I guess you could say, is that we have this person that is essentially not setting policy, but implementing policy. But as anyone knows, once you start talking about enough and big enough policies, the way you implement them often is as significant as the basic setting of them overall. So the fact that we have this unelected position, it's an appointed one, and therefore there is elected accountability, but it's not direct. We are not voting on the city council person. We're voting on the city council person who votes on the city manager, but we're not voting on the city council. Like there has been, it hasn't come up. We've had 2 city managers so far. We had Joyce Wilson, and now we have Tommy Gonzalez, like you mentioned. And there has not been a time when there has been, at least not that I've seen, a city council person like running for office saying, and this is who I will put in as city manager, because it kind of hasn't worked that way.
Okay. And how long has Tommy Gonzalez been city manager?
Tommy Gonzalez, I want to say, has been in there for, I'm actually forgetting the exact date offhand, but he's been in place for a good while now. And there was the whole contract extension, contract possibilities. And so he's been quite a while. And of course, the amount of his salary being in the $400,000 range.
I happened to look it up because I was doing some research. And let me tell you, man, I mean, that's a nice little chunk of change to live off of.
Yeah, exactly. And notably, significantly more than any of the people that oversee him, actually, whether it be mayor or city council. Yeah, that one is of interest to me. So, of course, now with, Tommy Gonzalez, again, with the votes that went on with him and the caps there, or lack thereof, that were put into place here. There are performance reviews. There are things like that happen, and there's been a lot of coverage that has gone into all of it. Yeah, he did start in 2014 when he was appointed as El Paso's second city manager after Joyce Wilson announced that she was going to be retiring from that. So been there coming up on, as of next year anyway, a decade now. And he was previously some smaller areas city managers also. So yeah, there's a lot of complexities that go into this, but those are kind of some of the juxtaposition of the strong mayor versus the city manager form of government.
Okay, and since you said that he's not elected, he's appointed again every 4 years, is basically
hired. And there's not really a time frame. This actual contract, the one that I admit I've kind of lost track of whether it was initially that it was 2009 or it ended up being 2009, but I want to say that it's through the better part of the rest of this decade that he is now going to be in place. There are, of course, exit clauses. There's not this is not an appointed for life kind of situation. So there are, can be fired for cause, but among other things that has also come up, there is the fact that there's compensation even if he's removed from office. So, and that could be to the tune of up to $1 million, depending on how many benefits he's already accrued, kind of things. So there's a lot of complexities that go into this, but no, there's yearly reviews, performance reviews, and compensation increases that are also tied to those performance reviews.
Oh, okay. And has he gotten any increases based on his performance reviews? I mean, I was not aware of this at all. I mean,
yeah. Short answer, yes.
Okay.
Longer answer, consistently, because every time he has had a kind of essentially not the exact metrics, but a satisfactory or above review, he has had a pay increase that is a part of his contract. As noted by the El Paso Times, he started at the salary of about $239,000, and now he's in that $400,000 a year range. And that's salary. That is not involving other benefits and compensation, such as travel to see his doctors back in Central Texas at least once a year, car allowances, things like that.
Right. I'm sure he gets free tickets to concerts here too.
Not as part of the contract here, but I would honestly wouldn't want to speculate too much on
Well,
that.
with that increase, he's doing a good job, I'm assuming.
That is the statement, and he has gotten, again, the reviews from city council. So that is just kind of some of the background on strong mayor versus city manager form of government here. So again, joining us here in studio right now has been Angelica Munoz, the 690 producer that will be joining us infrequently, but in a recurring basis as we do more of these kind of segments, these conversations about what are some of the big things going on here and what's the deal with blank in the news.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew, for having me on. Thank you all for listening to my questions. I straightened my hair just for y'all. I have a suit that has a little bit of padding here. I don't normally dress like this, but I'm trying to look the part too.
Absolutely. So we'll see more of you around there. So thank you very much, Angelica.
Thank you.
And we'll be back right after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM, talking about the big issues that, of course, affect us here in the Borderland. So stay tuned here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Fidel Moreno Mesa with your CBS 4 News Update. The family of 17-year-old Angeles Zaragoza spoke to the media Tuesday morning. Police say Zaragoza was with a group of friends when they got into a confrontation with another group in the mall's food court area last Wednesday. Investigators say as the two groups fought, a 16-year-old boy pulled out a gun, shooting and killing Zaragoza and seriously wounding a second teen. Zaragoza's mother said his death will be felt by many. The family of a teen found shot to death in Far East El Paso is searching for answers about their loved one's death. Jasmine Adame was found dead in an alleyway off of Coyote Trail and Apache Point located near Pebble Hills Boulevard. The 16-year-old family is asking anyone with information about what happened to come forward. You can call El Paso Police at 915-832-4400 or Crime Stoppers of El Paso at 915-566-TIPS. For more news headlines, head to our website at cbs4local.com. I'm Fidel Moreno Mesa with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Winds will die down as we go into the overnight hours and through tomorrow morning. We'll see lows on the colder side once again, back down into the 30s and 40s. About a 10% chance of a shower. Not as windy for tomorrow, just breezy conditions for your Thursday with a high around 60 degrees. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Hiring can be a headache. That's why there's Indeed, the hiring platform that removes the hassle. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates. And you can schedule and conduct video interviews right on their site. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Hi guys, it's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is now available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, February 22nd, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Northbrook Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain that spark in the bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 5 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 915-529-9000. That's 915-529-9000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Northbrook Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today, Wednesday, 915-529-9000.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Before your day is done, Brakemasters has already helped thousands of people get back to their families safely. Get your vehicle in Brakemasters shape. Download coupons at Brakemasters.com. Only then can you say your day is done.
Brakemasters, we give you an honest break.
This report is sponsored by Brakemasters.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour, and always online at KTSMradio.com. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we are up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. However you're doing it, whatever works for you, be able to get at us, see the show, listen to it. Certainly, that's kind of the foundation of all of this. But if you want to add your 2 cents to the comments, we'll do those phone calls a little bit later. A lot of good ways to do that here, as we have a lot of people tuning in, chiming in, adding those likes and reacts. We do appreciate over on the social media, including James Ratcliffe, Flaco Jimenez, James Holmes, Ida Beza Gardner, Robbie Flores, Amber Banda, Monica Cervantes, and Angel Rueda. Austin Redfern, greeting to you as well. And as well as Calvin Williams saying, miss you guys. Did you miss me? And notice a lack of you being there in the comments. But hey, some people got things going on, time frame shift. The beautiful thing about this show is even if you miss us, you find us over on the social media. If you miss us live, you can find us over on the social media because these videos stay up there. So some of y'all have taken advantage of this. Yes, I get the notifications when y'all comment, but if you want to catch up with what we got going on, like want to say right before we got into that interview, it was Angel Rueda saying missed several shows, just found out that the El Paso shootout was actually stopped by a concealed carry Good Samaritan, last name Duran. Yep, that is more or less accurate. Now, haven't had any updates on that situation yet, but last we knew, charges pending against the just real stupid sons of something involved in this, the main shooter anyway, the one that did the initial murder. So investigation does continue. Hopefully we'll get more on that. But yeah, that's some of the major news going on in this area, as well as at least one other comment on the idea of a no joke with the wind. Austin Redfern saying decades ago along Pershing Street near Austin High School, an entire roof had blown completely off one house and landed on top of the house next door. Yeah, a lot of, I mean, again, I'm kind of not joking about if it's not nailed down, don't expect it to still be ticking around. But other commentary, including to our interview there again, thanks to our going to be recurring guest, 690 producer, but we'll be talking more about that. And John Browson responding to it, saying in those days, each city council member was in charge of one or more city agency. So that is a little bit before my time, but I remember those discussions going by about, oh, strong mayor or not. Definitely think that the switch from 2 years to 4 years election has probably been a better thing, but that being in conjunction with the way things are now makes it, well, worthy of review and remembering how it came about. So, as well as James Ratcliffe kind of disagreeing with the idea of it in general, saying government not of the people, but the few. So interesting way to put it there. But those conversations go on. So speaking about government, been promising for a minute, but that was last week, and then we were into free-for-all on what's going on with some parts of the Texas legislature. Now, we are certainly going to be talking further about it and checking more in on with our elected representatives, particularly since there are the committee assignments out, and we're starting to get into the more functional part of the session as opposed to the pre-functory where we're getting all the things set up. And one of the major things that is going to be driving this session, governor's not totally in the driver's seat when it comes to setting the agenda, but this is essentially the punch list of if it's not done, expect to go back is kind of the way I take it anyway. And this is what Texas Governor Greg Abbott put out during the State of the State address, which we did bring to you live, of course, here, courtesy of KUT Austin and also Next Star Broadcasting, which we appreciate helping us get the feed, as well as the minority response and the kind of Q&A and back and forth they did afterwards, which I found very interesting. But those top priorities that Governor Greg Abbott has put out that are going to, again, be roadmap, essentially, that is going to need to be followed will be, just to reiterate them, cutting property taxes, ending COVID restrictions forever, education freedom for all Texans, school safety, and revolving door bail, securing the border, and fighting the fentanyl crisis. Those are the 7 ones that he put up as going to need to be addressed during this. So not necessarily a whole lot of surprises there, given the way Governor Abbott has governed and the things that he has been majorly focused on. So cutting property taxes is absolutely a major part of it. And specifically what he said more during the speech was about a $15 billion out of that current state surplus in order to cut property taxes and ensuring that it provides lasting property tax relief. Calvin Williams chiming in on that, saying, my property taxes have gone up over $400 since moving here. Roads are worse as crime is up. Geez, saying my 11-year-old had a gun pulled on him in front of my house. That's disturbing in the extreme. So a little bit more serious. Not that that's don't want you to talk about it, but that's very serious indeed. Yeah, not a good thing to be happening. So I guess that the critique overall there being maybe not agreeing with the direction things are going. So that's more from the state side. That last part, definitely want to see more local enforcement on there. But so that part of it, and how they're actually going to move away from that, the idea of more and more of these excise, use taxes, etc. That's having some national conversation that's gone on with it as well. But given the way that this has been not even just a stated right here, but a bright line item for this entire session of coming into it from just all levels of leadership and other things. Yeah, I see this probably getting its way pushed through. Ending COVID restrictions forever is another one here. Abbott saying, quote, we must change how government responds to future pandemics, including requiring the legislature to convene if another pandemic is ever declared. That's a very interesting one to me, because that was frankly one of the biggest criticisms that had been of Abbott in 2020 and getting in the lead up to 2021 when it came to the legislative session that did come out. That's where we got some of the phrases that were being uttered, not infrequently, but not all the time, at least on this program anyway, of like King Abbott or making decisions, this whole back and forth, arguably capricious decisions coming out of the governor's mansion, since there was not the legislature voting on and putting policy, and he did not call a special session of the legislature. I mean, probably in deference to, social distancing and those kind of concepts, but the fact of making it required would be, seeing that put into the actual Constitution, I think that would be maybe constitutionally required for Texas more than just a law, but we'll see what actually ends up being proposed along this. Frankly, that would have saved Abbott quite a lot of guff. Most of the challenges that ended up coming from the right side of the aisle from him ended up kind of being focused on these issues and his the impacts on business, personal lives, other things. So that's very interesting. The education freedom for all Texans, that one's still kind of under development. So some more stories out, including from Texas Tribune as of today, actually, what you need to know about education savings accounts, the voucher-like program championed by Governor Greg Abbott. So that one's getting a lot of talk and focus on right now. But I mean, the idea of being able to, take your money, choose where it is, there's ongoing conversations about that as well, including what that means for existing school districts and what are the standards they have to abide by, the ones that may be getting this, such as charter, private, etc. So I see this definitely being worked on. Don't know if anything's going to be a done deal there totally yet. One that has been talked about with quite a lot of funding already has been school safety. I want to say it's the order of tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars already being, essentially earmarked, if not being declared as needing to be spent by the governor when it comes to that. The concepts such as school hardening, technology upgrades, mental health resources, those kind of things. Revolving door bail is the complicated one, so I'm not going to spend as much time on it here. Harris County was the major focus that he was talking about during his speech. Again, the state of the state, particularly noting that Harris County's revolving bail practice is literally killing people. So saying they need to shut and lock the revolving door. So I see many of the big impacts probably coming for that. Securing the border, that's not exactly a secret or a surprising one either, particularly since we've seen Operation Lone Star, or the way that those state level efforts have arrived in our area and are probably going to continue doing so. Specifically noting that $4.6 billion to strengthen border security. The old Operation Lone Star, and even before this specific program was really ramped up the way it has been over these last few years, was already being on the order of tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars each year. Yeah, that's surprising for me. And then fentanyl, there's been a lot of ways, the whole, one pill can kill campaign, as well as many other things. And one aspect that I really do appreciate personally is the idea of having more of the Narcan, the ability to respond to this, because sure, I know there are those out there that think that, anyone who does it deserves it. Sure, there's a little bit of punitive, I get there, but this is not even limited to those that are knowingly and purposefully doing illegal substances. I disagree that those should carry the death sentence to begin with, but also the fact that anyone who may knowingly or not, be interacting with, say, counterfeit pharmaceuticals, stuff they don't know is fake, and literally dying from it is a problem. And just say, well, you get what you get. That's not reasoning I'm going to go with. So the focus particularly on the Narcan and the ability to recover from it, I got to say, are pretty important. Houston Public Media did specifically note that 3 emergency items during the previous session, they did pass that year, but these final 2 priorities did not pass until the second special session later that summer, which is one of the reasons I still call that previous session the year of the legislature. So let's just kind of round up of some of the major priorities. We're seeing more things develop out of it. And again, probably a lot more this week, talk about what the heck is going on with those, again, savings accounts and how that may or may not work. So significant and important there. So those are just some of the things I wanted to make sure we mentioned, but let's go ahead and take that next break right now and get into those phone calls as we usually do at this point during the program. So if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents, chime in. The number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Traffic starting to back up on the I-10 eastbound from Dallas to Paisano Drive through the Spaghetti Bowl with 25-minute delays. I-10 eastbound at Reynolds, there's a semi that is just stopped in the right lane. Stay to the left to get by. Injury accident Airway northbound at Boeing. And a crash with injuries northbound Wrestler at Mesa. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies.
Dell Technologies President's Day sale starts now with savings on select sleek XPS PCs and more powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors, plus savings on essential accessories and free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Tara, quote, "My doctor wanted me to do saline rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a neti pot. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. There are nights when I'll have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll bust it out, and the results are immediate. It's such a relief. It's become a lifesaver," unquote. She's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, here's my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 7.99% APR with autopay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rates range from 7.99% APR to 23.99% APR and include a 0.5% autopay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
Need weekend plans? Check out what's happening at your local Lowe's. Weekending at Lowe's gives you and your family the opportunity to make them your weekend destination with free events, workshops, and more. Visit Lowe's.com/events for this month's full lineup.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we are up on these days. Again, Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one where most of the comments end up coming in anyway, but also similarly titled Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk over on other Facebook pages, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv. We do, of course, have those phone lines open now as well. Full up already because that's just kind of how things tend to go. But keep that number handy in case you want to chime in when you get a chance, which, as a hint, when one call ends, the line opens up kind of thing. 915-544-5876. 915-544-KTSM is the number to call. Not going to be able to squeeze in any calls right this segment, so we'll get back to them at the top of the hour here. But one that I do want to mention here, James Ratcliffe mentioning that, saying Pickett is suing El Paso for a $30 million slush fund, but autocorrect a friend, from water fees. And that's been kind of a simmering thing for a minute. And we are talking about specifically Pickett, if that sounds similar. Former state rep Joe Pickett, and he was a city council candidate for a minute there, but ended up dropping out. Makes me wonder about implications of this here. But the suit actually filed back in 2020, late in 2020, if I'm remembering correctly, after kind of wondering what was going on with franchise fees in El Paso, or specifically on the water bill. So franchise fees in general are... I've been in city council meetings where those have been talked about. I saw them raised, can't remember which agency it was, may have been environmental services, from about like $1 to $2. Essentially, the idea, the concept anyway, is that the use of heavy vehicles, so like your trash pickup in those cases with environmental services, causes damage to the road that therefore has to be dealt with by, say, roads, services, etc. And so that is a recompense for it. Now, there is an argument to be made that just then passing all of these costs along to the consumer, in this case, the citizens using these services, etc. But so the specific suit that Pickett is still suing over, after was previously noted a settlement request or offer was rejected by El Paso City Council back in, what was it? I want to say... last year, about this time last year. Okay, a little under a year ago, I'll say that. Showing that's now moving forward, the recent decision is known by El Paso Tom, among others here, is now moving ahead after a decision by, I think it's the 8th Court of Appeals. Yeah, so we'll see that. Again, he is essentially alleging that there's a $30 million slush fund that's part of that, and saying he couldn't get a clear explanation, so he is now suing over it. So it's been cleared to move ahead, so that'll be an interesting one to keep our eye on. Some intimations about this maybe moving to the Texas Supreme Court, but there's a whole lot more to try to get into there. So let's go ahead and take that next break, get to the top of the hour, and get back to those phone lines after this here. So, of course, you are tuned into Talk El Paso. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. All the stuff that we do, I think, pretty well, if not the best, after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Traffic starting to back up on the I-10 eastbound from Dallas to Paisano Drive through the Spaghetti Bowl with 25-minute delays. I-10 eastbound at Reynolds, there's a semi that is just stopped in the right lane. Stay to the left to get by. Injury accident Airway northbound at Boeing. And a crash with injuries northbound Wrestler at Mesa. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Why do you buckle up when you get in your truck? Maybe you do it to get home safely to your loved ones, or because you take your job as a professional driver seriously, or because you want to follow the law to stay safe. Remember, it doesn't matter how long you've been driving, or even if it's a quick trip. Wear your seatbelt to stay safe on the road. Learn more at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov. That's www.sharetheroadsafely.gov. And remember to buckle up when you get behind the wheel. Paid for by FMCSA.
For more than 20 years, the Window Depot has provided the best price and the biggest inventory on in-stock vinyl windows. And now, the Window Depot is more than a window store, offering homeowners and contractors a one-stop warehouse offering interior and exterior doors, granite quartz countertops, in-stock cabinetry, and skylights to finish your project. Their team of professionals will help with everything from free kitchen design to custom orders from leading manufacturers like Milgard and Geldwin. Order online or find a
News
location
on the
near
hour
you at
and the half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
And the
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Snow is blanketing a large stretch of the country, and it's leading to misery at the nation's airports. FlightAware says more than 1,400 flights have been canceled so far today. The Minneapolis-St. Paul airport is dealing with the worst of it. Former President Trump is visiting the site of the toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio.
We pray for you, and we will stay with you in your fight to help answer and the accountability that you deserve.
While visiting the town weeks after the crash, Trump praised local first responders and called out the Biden administration's handling of the incident. More information is coming out about the victims of a plane crash in Little Rock, Arkansas on Wednesday. KARK-TV reports all 5 people on the plane were employees of CTEH, a science consulting firm based in the city. The 5 were headed to Bedford, Ohio to respond to an explosion at a metal plant on Monday that left 1 person dead and more than a dozen injured. The special counsel overseeing a criminal investigation of former President Trump is issuing subpoenas to Trump's daughter Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner. The New York Times reports special counsel Jack Smith subpoenaed the two as part of his investigation into Trump's efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Ongoing interest rate hikes will likely be needed to bring down inflation. More from Lisa Taylor.
That's what Federal Reserve officials indicated at their most recent meeting earlier this month. Minutes from the meeting show most officials agreed to a 0.25 percentage point increase, the smallest hike since March of last year. Some members wanted a 0.5 point increase. While there are signs inflation is coming down, officials said their concern over inflation is high as it remains well over the 2% target.
Lisa Taylor reporting. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones lost 85 points to 33,045. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Facebook parent company Meta is planning to cut thousands of jobs despite the CEO predicting no more layoffs. The Washington Post reports the company is getting set to put some leaders into lower-level roles without direct reports. Other leaders may end up overseeing a higher number of workers as teams grow bigger. Some inside the company expect employees whose jobs have been converted to eventually quit. Seattle is the first city in the nation to ban caste-based discrimination. One local resident says many immigrants come to the U.S. dismayed to find caste discrimination exists here as well.
People who belong to the oppressed community have to hide their identity to escape this thing. So sometimes they may not speak up, or sometimes it's very hard to prove. And many people have probably given up because they think that nobody will understand what they are talking about.
The more than 3,000-year-old caste system, which stems from Hinduism in India, divides Hindus into rigid hierarchical groups that are assigned at birth. An automobile body parts manufacturer is bringing hundreds of jobs to Georgia. Liz Kennedy has the details.
Governor Brian Kemp announced on Tuesday that Hyundai supplier Seiwan America, which operates one of the largest automobile body parts manufacturing plants in North America, is investing more than $330 million in Effingham County. The company is also bringing 740 new jobs to the Rincon area. In 2008, the company opened a manufacturing facility in LaGrange, and now with the 2025 completion of the latest facility, Seiwan is expected to support 1,600 jobs in Georgia.
The Tom Hanks-led drama, A Man Called Otto, has crossed $100 million at the global box office. The film has made over $61 million in North America and just over $39 million overseas. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blind shades and shutters with free shipping and prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's President's Day sale. Hurry, sale ends February 23rd. Blindster.com.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the Borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Rosetta Stone, where language is learned. rosettastone.com.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all.
iHeartRadio.
Access to all of your favorite radio stations.
It's Ryan Seacrest. I go by the name of Charlamagne the God.
Hi, I'm Ellen K.
Bobby Bones here. Hola, soy Enrique Santos.
Access to all of the best free curated playlists.
My favorite music. The best songs.
A little bit of everything.
Access to all of the great podcasts for every interest.
The Stuff You Should Know podcast. The Daily Show podcast. The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
And best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. Download the absolutely free iHeartRadio app now.
Most of the time, traffic is pretty good. But there are times when traffic can be pretty bad. No, I mean like really bad. Almost, but more like an asteroid's gonna hit the city and everyone's trying to get out of town at once and nobody's car is moving and people are running down the highway clutching their kids and whatever belongings they can grab. Yep, now you got it. It's times like these you need your severe traffic station. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. A lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
That's just one adoption story that started at a shelter. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we are up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of stuff that we'll be getting into and continuing to talk about today. Quickly, since we do have those phone lines open right now, if you want to get at us that way, full up at the moment, but keep the number handy, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Quick update on the weather situations out there. Yeah, apparently still blowy as heck, as actually wind damages roof of Gadsden Middle School. Students switch to remote learning. It looks like it still has a roof, but definitely some parts of it pried up there. So yeah, not actually, no. Looking at another angle, it looks like a whole bunch of it got nearly chunked up entirely, but still kind of in place. So yeah, this wind not messing around today. So stay safe out there. Don't go out too much if you can, and keep a hold of your trash can. Definitely. A lot of discussion going on different types of roofing in our comments. I'm often surprised by what goes over there. Flaco Jimenez saying dimensional shingles have the best wind resistance and look better, especially on high-pitched roofs. Not a sentence I expected to say today, but here we are. So getting more into things that I may not have expected to say today. Let's go ahead and get to those phone lines now. We do have Jerry in the northwest area of town here with us right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us, and hope you're still staying grounded or on the ground anyway.
Yeah, but I'm missing a few shingles from off my roof. So.
Jeez, all right.
I'll take care of them tomorrow when the wind settles down. Anyway, I listened to the governor's speech that he had, the State of the State address, and I thought he did a good job. In particular, I liked him supporting the small business idea of businesses coming to Texas and helping them to get established, and even maybe with funding.
Absolutely. And so just to clarify here, the 7 items I discussed weren't the only things he talked about in the speech. He touched on quite a lot of priorities. These are the ones that I see as having the most immediate impact on the legislature, because it's kind of a you're going to do it or you're going to stick around till you do it kind of thing. But yeah, the small business impacts, the what's been put forth, like the Texas Miracle. I don't think he used that phrases, but it's often been done. He definitely wasn't an ad previously of showing him rolling from California to Texas, which he still is encouraging businesses to do. So yeah, definitely much a focus that they're having in this session, even if not an emergency item.
Yeah. Well, the Democrats did a good job of producing the counter for that, but it was a production thing. It was basically false. It was all, a stage thing, and they call that, in the olden days they used to call that hypocrisy, because it was not basically true. It was something that was perceived, and today a lot of people perception is reality. when that is not necessarily the case. Okay, but that's not the main reason I called. Today I called about the press. Have you ever heard of Full Measure with Cheryl Atkinson?
Yes, I have heard of it. I can't say I've watched it personally.
Okay, well, she does a thing they have it on Channel 7 here locally on Sunday evenings. And she had on an individual that worked for Rutgers.
Right.
People that
Reuters, as that's pronounced,
Reuters.
I think. Yes.
Reuters, there you go, exactly. And he was saying that they have been putting out false information all the way back from when President Trump started his first administration, and all that had to do with the Russia collusion and all that. A lot of that was false. This guy was a guy that worked there, and he's saying Reuters was putting out false and misleading information. So, and that's a continuing thing that's going on. And the reason why I bring that up is because there's been people that's been calling you about these shootings that we've been having.
Sure.
And they've been claiming that's over 600 a year. Well, according to the NIJ, which is a National Institute of Justice, which is part of the DOJ, the Department of Justice, and the Office of Judicial Projects, according to them, Public Mass Shootings Database amasses details of half a century of U.S. mass shootings with firearms, generating psychological histories. And according to them, let me see if I can find it here, there was, in the past 20 years, I'll read this to you. The project spanned mass shootings over more than 50 years. Yet 20% of the 167 mass shootings in that period occurred in the last 5 years of the study period. So according to these people, the National Institute here of Justice, there was only 167 mass shootings. So
I've read some of these numbers previously, and I'm kind of reviewing them as you're mentioning it here. From their 2022 release, when they looked at in this case between 1990 and 2016, they said 652, that there were 18 intentional, and that they separate also the idea of then mass shooting, saying that 11 occurred over this 27-year study period there. So I think I'm looking at the same information you're talking about there.
You may have, but the reason why I'm saying is because there's things out there that's the right, and which is basically the conservatives and the Republicans, and the left, which is basically the Democrats and the socialists, are at war in the United States currently. It's not a shooting war yet, but it's a verbal war. And one of the main things that is in the war toolbox is misinformation and disinformation, which is information that is not correct and is meant to lead people on other things. Now, there's people putting out this information that is not correct, like 600 shootings in 1 year, or the year of 2022. And I don't find that anywhere that a really good, reliable place to look up information, because most of the stuff that I'm seeing is actually biased.
I mean, again, a phrase I feel like I've been using a lot recently is that there's lies, there's damned lies, and then there's statistics. Because to think that data is inherently unbiased, I mean, sure, it can be if you're looking at all of the data, but the way we parse it down, the way we often then dole it out, and the way we then end up making narratives out of it can be, well, it's an inherently selective process, and a lot of narrative building can be put into that there. So, whenever we talk about the idea of gun, I mean, one stat that really sticks with me is that when we talk about gun violence, just full stop, the concept of gun violence in this country and the issues that come with it, I think a part that often could be missed is that the vast majority of it end up coming from handguns, particularly given the way that there are the things that happen in the national legislature focus on, say, that assault weapons ban that is being talked about being put through. I guess you could kind of argue that like magazine limitations start addressing it more than that if you're of that persuasion, but particularly the assault weapons bans ends up, at least in my opinion, being more of a knee-jerk, what is the scariest kind of aspect to it, as opposed to the sum total of the entire issue. Now, if you just focus on schools and other things, there's a whole lot of ways to slice it, and in doing so, by slicing it, you are making decisions about what you're presenting or what you're not.
Yes, and when I was in the military, when we had our senior NCOs and our lower grade officers would always tell us, don't just bring me a complaint. You know, if you're pointing out something that's wrong, bring me at least one or two solutions to it. That's what makes us better. One of the solutions that we need to do is to quit teaching our children that they are just pond scum in the scheme of life. We need to start going back and telling them that they are worth something and they are loved by a God that does exist. So, and that would help it stop a lot of this, because if they are loved and looked after, then their neighbor should be loved too. And they would stop shooting each other and hating each other, hopefully. So anyway, I'll let you go. And, listen to what you have to say for that response.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, thank you for the point of the call. Do appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
I mean, I will say just on that last point there, and specifically that's just, I mean, okay, if you want it to be taught in schools, you want to go to an organization that teaches for you, I mean, please do so. And certainly encourage that. But I kind of, I guess, bristle at the idea of saying, and it should be taught in schools, because not necessarily that would be a bad thing to do, but that expecting it to be done there, like on your behalf, I just find beyond problematic. Let's just put it that way. That if you have values, have things that are important to you that you want to pass on to yourselves, those close to you, your future generations, etc., get put kind of, and I'm not necessarily blaming you for this or anyone else specifically commenting there, that seriously, you need to be doing that. You need to be making a part of your lives and time with it. So, I mean, sure, join organizations that you find supported here, but expecting any level of like a public life, essentially, to be the teacher of that here is just not reasonable in this day and age, among other things. So, sure, I mean, if you want to like, have the ability to take them to a school that teaches these things, sure, go ahead, do it. But also make sure that you are actually doing it in your own life, living it, like teaching it and showing it, that kind of thing. I just got to say that always gets to me every time we talk about this kind of thing. But then also when it comes to, the stats and the way they work here, the fact that we often see these knee-jerk reactions to, oh, what can we do? Let's get rid of, all of the things, or, the ones that have the most, and not actually looking at the effectiveness of it. If we're not talking about what an effect a law would actually have, or how it would be done, or how the desired effect would be the outcome from it, it's just posturing at that point, because all you're doing is saying, I don't like things that are bad. Let's make that a law. The immediate question coming after that would be like, okay, how are you going to do that? And if you're just shouting back at someone saying, well, why do you want things that are bad to happen, huh? You're not willing to support me in the efforts to stop things that are bad? Okay, sure, but like, what are your efforts? No, you're questioning it. You're not allowing me to move forward with it, and just come on. We do go this around here. And let's just say ignorance does abound, and here, this is the only time I'm going to feed the trolls. Yeah, Richard DeMille saying, let's ban crime. Here's a hint. If it's a crime, it's illegal. That's funny how that works, isn't it? And only time I'm going to feed the trolls there today with this here, saying that Polk said guns are grenades to push his gun nut right-wing agenda. You can't make this up. The fact of the matter is you can, because I dare you to find the quote where I said guns are grenades. As much as we have some that are very interested out there, and don't misquote me, the paraphrasing and the just wild accusations that come out of this. So either find something real to talk about or find yourself removed again, my dude. Anyway, let's go ahead and squeeze in one more call before we end up with that next break here right now. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeastern line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. So another mass shooting Sunday in Memphis, Tennessee. Way too many nuts and young hotheads with guns in America. This is a country that the Republican Party, their patrons, the gun lobby, the NRA, the weapons manufacturers have bequeathed to America. How wonderfully tragic. a country where no one is safe anywhere, anytime. The big news, even covered on your station, the former president and wannabe dictator's kids, Ivanka and Jared, have been subpoenaed by special counsel Jack Smith. Unprecedented and historical. This is the investigation that you've been wanting, Andrew. It's happening. Soon he'll be indicted. Soon he'll be in front of a jury. Or at the very least, lawyers where he's going to have to give depositions. And by the way, let's check out their laptops. Jared and Ivanka made a ton of money while working in Daddy's White House. Oh, the privileges of nepotism. You know, Daddy's twerker reportedly pleaded with her deplorable daddy to call off his mom while they were attacking the Capitol. So we're going to hear all about that. I can hardly wait. You know, only the loony lemmings in his cult would want to have this traitorous moron back as president again. Now, about guns. New gun purchasers must, in my world, they would have to get licensed and trained. New gun purchasers would have to undergo a criminal background check. New gun purchasers would have to wait 1 week to get their gun, a waiting period. Gun owners must purchase liability insurance to cover the injuries and deaths from the use of guns. And gun and ammunition manufacturers and purchasers of guns and ammo should be taxed to cover the cost of injuries and deaths from the use of guns and to pay for the cost of securing schools and public spaces. They should prohibit private gun sales. They should prohibit the manufacture and sale of assault weapons. With that, Andrew, tell me, who's the face of the Republican Party? Isn't it Trump?
I mean, I think that's a large argument that's been going on, and certainly at points in the last, let's call it 6 years at this point, he certainly has been, particularly while in the presidency. But I think that there is, to take it as a monolithic of the side you disagree with as all being under one banner of the former president, I think would be a mistake, among other things. I mean, it's a conversation we've literally asked on this show. Is it possible to consider yourself a Republican and not be in support of the former president? And we've had some interesting and mixed answers of it here. But if you're just looking for, therefore they all agree with him, therefore they're all evil kind of thing, yeah, you can miss me with that. But let me just say this. When it comes to the guns here, on the suggestions of it, once we got past the thin veneer that you were using to speak about the former president, when it comes to gun laws and restrictions on it, let me just say that some of the ideas in concept, I might even agree with you on. The idea of, I mean, I have espoused that I would like there to be more responsibly armed Americans, which does involve training, time, and understanding. But when we start talking about the legal requirements of it here, and even then, I'd be willing to consider them, except for the fact, given the kind of punitive nature y'all keep talking about, you specifically, that I wonder if this is going to be something truly flatly done, like, okay, there is a training requirement, or if this is going to go from essentially shall issue to may issue. That's the terminology that is used to categorize how these license to carry programs, or license to have a handgun, license to conceal carry, whatever, etc., is put around the country. So Texas now, of course, is constitutional carry, and there are different ways that exists in other places. But in places like, say, New York, some of these legal cases have essentially gone along the idea of, if it is possible under the law, are you going to be able to get a license, or are you going to have to go through an extraordinary burden to do so, where the essentially is you are assumed to be denied until you can really, really, really prove, quote unquote, prove that you need one. So we start talking about the way we implement these laws. Like, again, the way we have the ideas of, okay, let's, everyone should be happy, everyone should be good. The way you can go about this and the way that you choose to actually implement it, the devil is always in the details. So I'm just going to make some call outs here, and they're going to talk about it further. That, sure, training requirements, I'm absolutely in favor of it. The way it might be implemented, though, about having to, okay, there'll be this one training course. It's held at 11:59 p.m. on the 5th Tuesday of every February, and if you miss it, too bad, you can't get it till next time. That's where regulations starts coming in about, oh, well, we're actually making it rather inaccessible. Heck, even the tax stamps that exist with those NFA items, whether it be short-barreled rifles, shotguns, etc. I mean, it's been $200 since the 30s. Essentially, at the point in time it came about, it was to put it out of the hands of those that could not afford it. It was not a merit-based. It was not a, do you deserve it, should you have it? It was a, do you have enough money to justify it? So essentially keeping it out of the hands of, well, you or I, common people, etc. I mean, sure, it could be argued that someone could have scratched that together, but I mean, particularly think about like in the 30s, that was a chunk of change. Still not something that I've particularly pursued because I have a hard time justifying that in my life. But seriously, if we're going to be saying that, sure, we should have these things in place, how you're going to do it is as much about it. And that's where the distrust, that's where the, okay, but what are we going to do with it? Because you start talking about insurance with saying that, oh, by the way, the premiums are $5,000 a month, or, the idea of ammunition sales that you have to pay, double the amount. The point is to make it onerous as opposed to actually controlling it. That's where the distrust comes in. So if there was actually to be an open, frank, and realistic discussion about what are the goals, what are the objectives, what things can we do to actually achieve, like, say, reduction in gun violence, which is a goal I 100% agree with. If you're coming at, we're just going to make it as painful for you as possible because suck it up. Yeah, nah. Anyway, appreciate the point in the call and the actual points of discussion to get here with you. Otherwise, Friday's coming if you're really just wanting to lambast on people you don't like, even though you ain't got that much time for that either. Let's go ahead and take that next break right now before I just totally blow up all of our breaks. So, back after this with more Talk El Paso. Of course, tuned in here on News Radio 690 KTSM, and I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A big backup in the downtown area on I-10 eastbound from Yandell to Paisano Drive. It's a 35-minute delay after a semi is stopped in the right lane. I-10 eastbound at Reynolds. An accident reported Joe Battle Boulevard southbound at Bob Hope. And a high wind warning out for El Paso tonight till 8 p.m. for gusty winds over 50 miles per hour. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blind shades and shutters with free shipping and prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's President's Day sale. Hurry, sale ends February 23rd. Blindster.com.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, here's my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed-rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online, and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 7.99% APR with autopay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high-interest credit cards and save money with a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval. Rates range from 7.99% APR to 23.99% APR and include a 0.5% autopay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-989-8906 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-989-8906. That's 800-989-8906. What do you have to lose? Call 800-989-8906. Again, 800-989-8906.
City streets or small towns, everyone deserves a clean, green community. We are Keep America Beautiful, the nonprofit working to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Let's do beautiful things. Visit KAB.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we are up on these days, Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv. Andrew J. Polk. A lot of people chiming in, adding their 2 cents, dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate it, including Calvin Williams, James Radcliffe, Flaco Jimenez, James Holmes, Ida Beza Gardner, Robbie Flores, Amber Banda, Monica Cervantes, and Angel Rueda. A lot of commentary coming in as well, including merits there and lack thereof. Bernadette Van Nicole, among others, saying, so no way to defend ourselves. Yeah, let's just put ourselves out there like sitting ducks. Again, I think what I, at least, it's not all about what I believe on this show, but things when it comes to this that I believe in, pretty apparent. And if you want to come at me about them, go for it. But you're calling me that being untrue, that's just that's the very definition of bad faith. Anyway, the idea of us having to have any defense, again, I would love to live in a world that requires none of that, lions and lambs laying down together, et cetera. But we don't live in that world. And until that time, anyone saying, you know what, let's put penalties on people who have literally not committed a crime ends up falling a little bit flat for me, particularly if it ends up being something that they would use to defend, respond to themselves. Again, another way to put it, until I can carry a cop on my hip, I'm going to maybe choose my own personal self-defense and what is comfortable and find to be reasonable for myself and my family under what is available under the law. But if you're just changing the law to be capricious, miss me with all of that. Anyway, let's go back to the phone lines right now. Again, that number 915-544-5876-54 for KTSM. We do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew. To Jerry, I agree with your sentiments about society. I implore you to, if you want to know about the Cheryl Atkinson show and what she talked about on Sunday, I implore you to look at the Google Trusted News Initiative. I think you might be able to find your answers there. As for Raul, in response to you, our government bans menthol cigarettes, but makes marijuana legal. That should tell us something. Okay, this is what I'm calling about. Why are the Democrats and media hacks so upset about the release of the 14,000 hours of videotapes on the January 6th insurrection to Tucker Carlson? What are they afraid of? Maybe that their selected narrative isn't, quote, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. The Democrats were storytellers and movie directors that told us a story that they wanted you to believe. Now somebody else may tell a different story, and they're worried that that there is other information in those tapes which may tell this alternative story. As the Washington Post says so eloquently, that, quote, democracy dies in darkness. Let's shine a little more light on the January 6th insurrection. As Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis said over a century ago, sunlight is said to be the best of disinfectants. Transparency about the workings of an organization prevents corruption and is a hallmark of a strong civil society. And one more quote, and to paraphrase Paul Harvey, and now we may get to know the rest of the story.
I guess the most reasonable response I've seen here, because putting out this information, transparency, another way to kind of encapsulate many of the things you put forth here outside of except like extreme national interest. I'm talking like nuclear launch codes. I'm fine with those not being released, but in pretty much most other circumstances, I'm going to tend to err on the side of, okay, put the information out there, let people see it and understand it. And sure, provide analysis or context if you feel necessary, but don't let that cloud what is the major thing. So the most reasonable point I made, since you asked the question of what are they thinking, is about this not being as widely distributed. The idea of giving it to mostly, and I haven't seen the total specifics if this has been more widely posted. I haven't seen it personally, but I'm giving it only to, like, say, Tucker Carlson, and not like just posting it online like WikiLeaks style, making it so that there is more narrative building that can happen as opposed to, well, fact checking, among other things. That's the most reasonable response I've seen, but I've seen a lot of other ones more along the lines of what you're talking about. I will say that.
we listened for the last 2 years about one narrative. Let's give the other narrative a little bit of chance for dissemination. And then, if we really are interested, let's do a real investigation and have a real investigation about what happened on January 6th instead of the monkey court that the Democrats did.
All right, well, we'll see what comes out of this. I know there's already some things have been seeing posted of some of these other clips, so we'll see if wider distribution may happen. There may be other releases that are happening along with it, but it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
And isn't it nice that I just heard this on your radio station, that President Trump at least showed some concern about the Palestinian people, and where Biden and Pete Buttigieg have still not gone to Palestine, Ohio.
Yep, did hear that go by as well.
Last but not least, let's go, Brandon, and stay well, stay safe. God bless.
All right, well, thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, let's go ahead and take that. Try to get back on track here. Take that next break. We'll talk more about these things and more about also take more of those calls. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Fidel Moreno Mesa with your CBS 4 News Update. El Paso police say they've arrested the teen in a viral video firing a gun out of a car window towards a neighborhood. Police say they arrested 17-year-old Eduardo Antonio Robles on Monday. He's now charged with deadly conduct, discharge of a firearm. Police think Robles is the teen driver in the video. Police say once they identified Robles, officers approached him as he walked along an East Side street. They say he took off running and resisted arrest. He is now behind bars with a bond of $175,000. An El Paso man and a man from Ciudad Juarez were sentenced in federal court for taking part in a human smuggling operation. Enrique Quiroz Jr. was sentenced to more than 16 years in prison, and his co-conspirator, Carlos Villamiranda, was sentenced to 12 years. Court documents indicated Quiroz and Villamiranda demanded money from the families of the undocumented individuals they were trafficking. For more news headlines, head to our website at cbs4local.com.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Another crash slowing traffic Gateway East at Copia Street. An accident there is blocking 2 left lanes, causing the backup. An earlier accident, I-10 eastbound at Reynolds, a semi taking up 2 right lanes. Expect delays, a 39-minute backup on I-10 eastbound from Schuster to Paisano Drive. I-10 westbound from Hunter Viscount to the Patriot is a 7-minute delay. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Winds will die down as we go into the overnight hours and through tomorrow morning. We'll see lows on the colder side once again, back down into the 30s and 40s. About a 10% chance of a shower, not as windy for tomorrow, just breezy conditions for your Thursday with a high around 60 degrees. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples Print and Marketing is committed to quality and printing perfect every time. Now at Staples, get $10 off your document printing and marketing materials order of $50 or more. Offer ends $225. See staples.com/stores/printbig for details. Try Staples and see the difference.
Paid for by government.com.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s, and less than 50 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-456-2466, and you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-456-2466. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-456-2466 now to secure your $10 Gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-456-2466.
Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blind shades and shutters with free shipping and prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's President's Day sale. Hurry, sale ends February 23rd. Blindster.com. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels?
I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of two people, but it has.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. There's technically actually like more pages even in that mix that we're up on as well, but those are the main ones. What works for you, where you can find us, where you can see us. We just say it for your knowledge. And what works for you is the right place for you to be. And a lot of conversation going on there, including James Radcliffe asking, do you know more about the information about the Chief Resiliency Officer? And is that person involved with implementing climate change policies affecting our infrastructure? Not really anything more because, among other things. So, okay, break it down. There's, of course, we got the upcoming vote, the one in May that will have the climate charter. That one, TBD. And also still kind of one that exists now is a little bit TBD as well, to be decided, because this comes out of the just passed in the November election, that like $5 million and change dollars that was on that bond amount that had probably one of the slimmer margins. It was like 50 to 49 kind of thing. And that's where that comes from. But what has been said publicly so far is that writing up kind of how those funds and how that office will be implementing them is going to take like 12 to 18 months, at least as of last check. So maybe is the best answer I can give you, but there's no like clear answer on exactly how they're going to go about this yet, except from some of the things we've already discussed. So really nothing new, but that's the best perspective I think I can really give you there. Willie Jenkins chiming in saying, you're making a lot of references here, including comparing parties to the political parties of today and to how the WWF or WWE work these days, which is an interesting way, but saying specifically years ago was the difference between parties, at least for show, but the whole process has long since been perverted, corrupted, and lobbyistic in law's agendas, the enslavement of the American people and the whole world for that fact. So interesting way to put it here. I mean, two sides of the same coin is a phrase that is sometimes used. Let's just say that there's a reason on this program we tend to focus on policy, because you can get so wrapped up in the he said, she said, oh, you're awful, no, you're awful, no, I disagree with you, no, you want to do and, consume the souls of everyone that you don't like. I mean, there's so much hyperbole out there. Just personal gripe of mine. Anytime I see like those articles or those postings of, oh, commentator destroyed, a person obliterated, like it's so hyperbolous, and it's just so ridiculous that, like, okay, are you saying you responded to their argument, or are you saying that you're going to use all the adjectives that you can think about to say why this person was wrong without actually like talking about their argument? And anytime it devolves into that, I'm just, oh my Lord, this is just it's too much. It's too much, and yet not enough at all, because there's no substance to it. It's a nothing burger. Anyway, let's go back to at least some of the phone calls. So, not trying to get at you, Willie. I kind of agree with you. I'm just saying, yeah, they get so ridiculous. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines now. We do have Frankie and Messia with us on the line here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
Woohoo! I'm on. I raced back to my beer mill to be able to get back to my garage to be able to call you before I got knocked out of the box and ran out of time. Now, let me ask you something. Do you take suggestions?
You're breaking up there a little bit. Could you repeat that one?
Yeah, okay. Do you take suggestions?
Oh, we consider suggestions at the very least.
Okay, let me offer a suggestion here. Yeah, let me go inside my garage here. Hold on a minute, because I'm out in a windstorm here. Now,
that'll do it.
let me say, I heard you you took off on Monday, and you have these horrible substitutes, which is the most boring thing in the world. And instead of having these terrible people that you have a substitute, why can't you put Amber on, and she can talk about anything she wants? But it'd be more interesting to listen to Amber than these morons that you have as substitutes. Now, let me say this. All right? I heard yesterday Barbara, and she's so proud of what she said. And I did this research, and I did that research. Well, wait a minute. She never, ever says, where is the reference of that research that she's talking about? Well, what is she getting? What, from Foul Noise Duckmark? Sucker Crunson? Muggery Tuggery Taylor? Whatever these nut jobs are? Is this what her references are? And how in the world can she say stuff like that and have these as kind of a reference and stuff? And I'm not even going to talk about Befuddled Ben. And he wants everybody to go listen to that ding dong bong ding bong Gino guy. Give me a break. And that's my opening rant.
Okay, well, I breaking down some of this here. Appreciate the suggestion, and your call sounds better now. Do appreciate that. Let's just say we have a lot of things we're working on the back end here, not stuff that we can necessarily totally publicly put out on when we are hitting the road, rubber hitting the road with how we're making changes. We certainly will, but we tend to prefer to use, what we got going, what we've talked about here locally anyway, when if all possible. But sometimes when we got these national holidays, infrequently, but it does happen. But I appreciate the feedback on it. Let me put it that way here. And when it comes to the rest of the calls and the ideas of it, we don't necessarily explicitly require, I mean, this is a talk show. You can kind of get away with it, what you can talk about, require like, okay, state your sources, otherwise you can't enter here. If there's anything I'm going to require people to do, it's going to be proving that they are a registered and active voter here. So if we're going to start requiring that, that'll be first on the docket. But I mean, I do appreciate if people like indicate where they got something from, like if we're talking about studies, mentioning what the studies are and things like that. But it's not strictly a requirement, but it does help strengthen an argument. I will agree with you on that point. So maybe she's out there listening, can at least mention some of the places where, I mean, I think she does more often than not, to be honest with you. But I do appreciate when people do bring and here's where you can go for more information kind of thing.
Oh, okay. All I'm saying is, well, the two points here. Number one, if you're going to have an opinion thing and you try something out there, have a particular reference point of what you use for that particular argument you had. Don't be going out there and say, well, I researched this. Well, where did you get this research from? This is nuts. Now, then the other thing is, I'm a big fan of giving people a break. All right. Now, she's a lovely, lovely sounding lady. I mean, the Amber girl. And I understand you said she wants to get into the broadcast, the shtick, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Give her a shot. Come on. I'm telling you, you can't go wrong. She can do a heck of a lot better job than the morons that you put on for your substitute. Now, that's my rant for the day.
Again, take it under advisement. We got some, I mean, that's the last one for like this season, but we might have some other replacements. But usually when we have planned time out of the office, we do tend to actually like to, present it as local content anyway, but we'll take it under advisement. So yes, we take suggestions and we will consider them. So appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Okay, take care, Randall. You're a good man.
Appreciate it. Oh, geez. This is why the comments often give me life here. Let's get to a couple more calls here if we can. We do have Joe on the east side with us right now. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Hi there. What I wanted to say is I enjoy very much listening to Raul. He's the guru of correct left-wing information. I love listening to him because he's extremely left-wing opinionated. His version is guns, cars, planes, wars. People kill people. Let's eliminate all of the guns, the cars, the planes, the wars, the people, and it will solve all our problems. So that's what I am listening to. And I also want to say that he's extremely negative with no solution. He never gives a solution rather than say, well, here's how we can solve it. No, he doesn't do that. It is his moment of glory to talk on your show. That's Raul, a wonderful person. I am trying to be as complimentary as I can of Raul. The other one that I will really say is I enjoy listening to Barbara. She's very informative. Her suggestions, she knows her material. She's very, very good. So anyway, let's get rid of all of these things and we'll solve our problems. Guns, cars, planes, wars, and people. That's all I have to say. Good talking to you. I appreciate your show.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it. All right. I mean, let's just say that, I mean, we do take the calls and we're still going to do the things that we do here, because I think not just pontificating out and putting out ideas and saying you have to disagree, you have to agree with this or you're putz is just not how I want to do this. I think is actually like effective in the long run of like getting people to talking about things takes getting people to talk about things, which is a tautology, I know, but still, I think you might get the idea that you have to practice what you preach. If you want people to talk about things, you got to give them the chance, the opportunity, the way to do so. So I always prefer like coherent and well thought out arguments. Citing sources is a bonus as well. I try to mention where I'm talking about things coming from, but I'm also the show host. I feel like the burden of proof a little bit higher, those kind of things. Anyway, point is that if you disagree with me or anything we're talking about, you're more than welcome to, because that's also how this works. But if you're just going to say, nope, you're wrong and I hate you, cool, that's not really an argument. Anyway, what I really want to mention and get to here is that when it comes to the idea of changing human nature, yeah, if you're saying, well, get rid of everything and then therefore human nature will change, not quite. I mean, there's arguments of going back all the way to, depending on how you look at it, you know, Cain and Abel or the first civilizations, if you want to go about it that way, that there is an element. I mean, heck, even if you look at our Constitution, it was pretty much designed around the idea of people not really doing so the right thing, but the thing most in their self-interest. That's what the whole checks and balances system was basically predicated upon, and they didn't quite account for all of human nature, which is why I think we have some of the problems we do today. But yeah, just to say, well, you'd fix all of it and therefore human nature will untangle itself, kind of, no. Yeah, I'm not going to quite buy that one. Anyway, I think we do have one more quick call on the line here right now. I think we do a really quick time for the call. We do have Landon on the east side here with us right now. Landon, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for your program. Hey, I'd like to point out in the Cielo Vista mall shooting that the shooting was stopped by a law-abiding citizen with a concealed carry permit, and that the criminal perpetrator, the young 19-year-old, was in possession of his weapon illegally. And the point is, you're not going to make society any safer by taking away firearms from law-abiding citizens. Criminals do not get less violent if you disarm innocent people. Case in point, Mexico. Draconian gun control laws were passed. They only allow 50 permits per year, one gun store in all of Mexico. And since that has happened, the Mexican drug cartels have taken over 65% of the country, and more than 250,000 people have died.
I mean, there's a lot of very important information in there, including the idea that, yeah, there's literally one gun store. I think it's in Mexico City, DF, and yeah, it's not exactly a simple process. But just the information I have from the releases from police is that, yeah, it was a license to carry holder who did hold doing that. And it was, I think, a 16-year-old, at least at last, that I was seeing as the one facing charges in relation to this here. Yeah, James Radcliffe saying the same thing. I do believe that's correct. But otherwise, the way you're describing the situation, some of the very basic facts of it, more or less correct to my understanding.
Yeah, sorry I got the age wrong,
Yeah.
but old memory. But the key is criminals do not get less violent. And in case in point, we have a lot more violent crime in some of our biggest gun control cities, and in jurisdictions where they pass concealed carry permits, concealed carry handguns, it's generally seen on average a reduction in violent crime.
There's an interesting analysis I've seen along those lines here. Again, I kind of go back to my whole statistics line, but I will say that looking into what actual solutions are probably the most important way to do this. And yeah, just putting consequences on those that have literally committed no crime as a way of solving crime, just kind of make it make sense kind of situations there. Well, thank you very much for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Well, I think it's a lot about self-defense.
I mean, there's a lot more conversation to have there, but we got to hit that next break, so appreciate the point in the call. And coming out of this break, we'll tell you a little bit more about what we got coming up for you here on the program, so stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
2 crashes on the I-10 in the Gateway and big delays. Gateway East at Copia, an accident there blocking 2 left lanes. A semi and a couple of vehicles involved in an accident I-10 eastbound at Reynolds, and a 47-minute delay back to Schuster Avenue. Injury accident North Desert Boulevard at the Paseo del Norte on-ramp. And watch for a crash eastbound Paisano Drive at Coles. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Do you need new blinds or shades? Blindster.com offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters with free shipping and prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's President's Day sale. Hurry, sale ends February 23rd. Blindster.com.
Hi guys, it's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is now available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, February 22nd, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Northbrook Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain that spark in the bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 5 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 915-529-9000. That's 915-529-9000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Northbrook Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today, Wednesday, 915-529-9000.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. This is Matt Crowder live at the gas station on 41st Street reporting on those skyrocketing gas prices. Excuse me, miss, are you buying less gas now because of the high prices?
Oh, I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute, are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
Well, does that actually add up to anything?
I've made around $200.
Wow, well, there you have it. Stop paying full price for gas. Download the free Upside app and get real cash back every time you buy gas. This is Matt Crowder Radio News Network. Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SMILE for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or any gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SMILE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SMILE.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here, for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. That's going to about do it for us for today. Super out of time for this one here, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow with more talk about the things affecting us here in the Borderland, and just in deference to that as well, Friday is coming, meaning that talk about all the other things kind of outside of those bounds, because, yeah, we got the whole need for a release valve for the week, but there's a whole lot more to get to that we will certainly do so, and a couple of things we're working on for you, among other things, would be about, if keep having questions about the AI kind of stuff, and there's more investigation to want to do on that, at very least what some of the considerations or maybe even local developments are happening when it comes to the old chat, GPT, AI art, all those kind of stuff here. But then also whole lot more in the Texas legislature, as well as conversations going on even within the conservative movement here in Texas about border security and, well, reality. Let's just put it that way. But a whole lot more to come with you. So until then, until next time, I want to thank everyone that did tune in, chime in, call in, comment, participate in the show in any way. So stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when you're out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
2 crashes on the I-10 in the Gateway and big delays. Gateway East at Copia, an accident there blocking 2 left lanes. A semi and a couple of vehicles involved in an accident I-10 eastbound at Reynolds, and a 47-minute delay back to Schuster Avenue. Injury accident North Desert Boulevard at the Paseo del Norte on-ramp. And watch for a crash eastbound Paisano Drive at Coles. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Tara, quote, "My doctor wanted me to do saline rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a neti pot. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. There are nights when I'll have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll bust it out, and the results are immediate. It's such a relief. It's become a lifesaver," unquote. She's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. A major winter storm affecting a large portion of the country is causing widespread travel issues.